Alright guys, today we're going to do solving systems of equations using elimination. So we did graphing and substitution last week. Here's the third way that we can solve systems, which is elimination. Alright, so for solving by substitution, which we did last Friday, that's when we wanted to have like x or y equals. For elimination, we want actually the x and y to be on both sides of our equations. Okay, we're going to want to have either our x's or our y's, doesn't matter which one, to have the same number but opposite signs. Okay, and then we're going to be able to eliminate. And we'll see that as we look at some examples. So as I look at this first example, okay, I'm just going to look at my x's and my y's. Okay, so first I'll look at my x's, and I notice that my x's have the same number and opposite signs. That's what we're looking for. Okay, if I look at my y's, they don't have the same number, they don't have opposite signs. So I'm going to worry about my x's. So once I have the same number but opposite signs of one of the variables, I'm going to go ahead and add vertically. Okay, and when I do that, that's going to actually cancel or eliminate one of the variables, because 4 minus 4 is 0, so I have no x's left. Okay, then I'll add 2 plus 3y, which gives me 5y, and 9 plus 16 gives me 25. Okay, now I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So y equals 5. Now once I get that answer, this is kind of like substitution now. I'm going to take this answer and plug it in to one of the originals to find what the other variable equals. So I'm going to just plug it into the top one. So I have 4x plus 2, and then instead of a y, I'm going to put in that 5, okay, which equals 9. So now I have 4x plus 10 equals 9. Subtract 10 from both sides, so 4x equals, that would end up being negative 1 when I subtract 10 from both sides. Okay, so then now I have x equals, and I divide both sides by 4. So this is going to be negative 1/4, or I could put this as x equals negative 0.25. That would be fine too. Okay. Sometimes just using it as a fraction is perfectly just to leave it like that as reduced form. So when I go to write my answer, I'm going to write it as the point, negative 1/4, 5. Okay, so now if I look at this one, my x's don't have the same number, and my y's don't have the same number. So I need to get one of them to have the same number. So it doesn't really matter which one we look at. Sometimes it's just whatever one's easier. So I'm actually going to multiply, since this is technically a negative 1x, I'm going to multiply this whole top equation by 5. The reason why I pick 5 is because then it'll end up having a negative 5x, and then 5 times 4 is 20y, equals 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Okay. Now I notice that I'm not going to use this top equation anymore. You can almost kind of get rid of that one for now. But I'm going to go ahead and now add vertically. Since I have 5x and negative 5x, those are going to end up canceling, okay, or eliminating. Then I have negative 8 plus 20. So that's going to give me a positive 12. Y equals 20 plus negative 20 is 0. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 12. So y equals 0 divided by 12 is just 0. Okay. Divided both sides by 12 is what I did there. But 0 divided by 12 is just 0. So y is 0. So now I'm going to take that and plug it back in to one of the originals. Okay. I'm just going to pick the top or the bottom one. So I have 5x minus 8 times 0 equals 20. You could plug it in the top if you wanted to, but I wanted to work with the positive 5x instead of the negative x. So that'll be 5x, 8 times 0 is 0, so I don't need to put anything, equals 20. Divide by 5, x equals 4. Oh, sorry, divide by 5. So my point is 4, 0. Okay, now I look at this one. if I take a look, I know that I have a negative 2x and a 4x, and then I have 3y and 3y. So I'm going to need to multiply one of the equations by something. I could either multiply the top one by 2, or I can multiply either of these by a negative 1. I'm going to actually do the y ones. So I'm going to multiply the top one by just a negative 1. Because then I'm going to end up having a positive 2x minus 3y equals positive 14. Okay, so now if I kind of just look, I have a 3y and a negative 3y, so now I can use elimination. So 4x plus 2x gives me 6x. These eliminate, equals 46 plus 14, which is 60. Divide both sides by 6. X equals 10. Okay. Now once I get that, I just plug it in one of the originals. I'll plug it into the bottom one. So I have 4 times 10 plus 3y equals 46. Okay. That's 40 plus 3y equals 46. Okay, so subtract 40 from both sides. So 3y equals 6, divide by 3, and y equals 2. So my point is 10, 2. Okay, so there's always more options. Like I could have multiplied the top one by a 2, and that would work as well. Kind of just whatever you see works, but you got to make sure that you have the same number in opposite signs. Hey, let's look at one more example. Alright guys, so if I take a look at this one, this equation, if I look at the 2 and the 3, there's nothing I can multiply either of those by to get the other number. Same with 7 and 5. So I'm going to actually have to multiply both equations by something. So I'm going to use the x's. I'm going to multiply the top one by 3, so I could get a 6x, and I'm going to multiply the bottom one by negative 2. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite both of these equations. So I'm going to have 3x plus 21y equals 12. Okay, and the bottom equation is now going to be negative 6. Oh, sorry. It should be 6x since I do 3 times 2x. Okay, so on the bottom I'll have negative 6x plus 5 times negative 2 is negative 10y. And then negative 5 times negative 2 is going to be positive 10. Okay. Now I can go ahead and use elimination now since my x's have the same number but opposite signs. Okay, those add up to 0. 21 plus negative 10 gives me a positive 11y. And 12 plus 10 is 22. Ooh, 22. That's a bad 22. But divide both sides by 11. So y equals 2. Okay, now I'm going to plug that back in. I'm just going to use the top equation. So 2x plus 7 times whatever y was, which is 2, equals 12. Okay, so 2x plus 14 equals 12. Subtract 14 from both sides, so 2x equals negative 2. Divide by 2, x equals negative 1. Okay, so my point is negative 1, 2. Okay, so sometimes, to wrap up this problem, sometimes you end up having to multiply both equations by something. Okay, I could have actually done something with the y's instead of the x's, but it just kind of depends on what numbers you see and what numbers you want to deal with. Sometimes it might be bigger numbers if you use one of them instead of smaller numbers if you use the other. Okay, go ahead and try your practice problems.